So the three essays. First one's scary one. Right?
The first one is Overlords. And
Right.
actually, I don't know if I think the second one is probably scarier because the second one is just about how all culture is analogous to virtual reality.
Right.
The first one is more an argument that if the universe is a computer simulation, then we're supposed to figure that out. It's not supposed to be hidden. It's something that's always going to be found out. Because, like, if we're kind of dumb primates on this rock destroying our planet, and we're able to conjure with the possibility that we're in a virtual reality, and if it turns out that that's true, it's probably commonplace throughout the universe to figure out that you're in a virtual reality. That's probably something that the quote-unquote overlords expect.
Right. When will they figure out that they're in a simulation?
Right, and then what will they do?
Well, then what can we do?
Well, in the essay, I think it would be kind of interesting to kind of build a monument to our overlords, like 2001, like put it in the middle of nowhere. Like
Do the opposite, so that the big obelisk is us talking to them.
Yes, exactly. Instead of them talking to us, or make a huge statue of Morpheus or something like that. Like, and they'll get the gist, I think. And what I think will probably happen, actually, is a lot of weird paranormal phenomenon around there, like crop circles or something like that. Like these liminal experiences will probably show up if we make a giant monument.
I mean, they'll talk back to us.
Yeah. They'll talk back to us, but they'll do it in some like coy way where they'll be just as playful as ever. But yeah, I wonder what would happen if we started establishing dialogue with like the larger consciousness system.
But if we are, I mean, so do you think that we are in some simulation that some grad student is doing somewhere? You know?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of bought that. I bought it. Yeah, and
just because you buy it because it seems more probable that we'd be a simulation, one of zillions of simulations, than that we are one of the unique points of biological life.
I think it's very probable. I think it's like really probable. And there are different flavors of the simulation hypothesis out there. My favorite one is Tom Campbell's. He's from NASA, Department of Defense.
And he
Army
writes books and stuff?
Yeah, he got a great book out there. It really changed my life. It's called My Big Toe, My Big Theory of Everything. And it's an 800-page brick. And is
there an audio version?
There is. There's him doing it, actually, and it's really, really
77
wonderful.
hours.
It's fantastic. Oh, man, I fought that guy forever telling him to try and write a paper. Like, we need a summary, dude. No one's going to read these 800 pages. But it's amazing because people did. But his version of it is this. You know the ancestor simulation that Bostrom pushes?
Tell us.
So that's the idea that, he came up with this interesting mathematical formula where if you look into the future and you imagine post-humans and post-humans create ancestor simulations, then it's more than likely that we're in one of those ancestor simulations. So that's the idea of post-humans doing it.
And an ancestor simulation is what? Oh, so that the future humans were like, let's make a simulation about what life was like back
Exactly.
when.
Yeah, and then extrapolate data out of that by letting like the little units go around and do things.
Well, you would think that it would also be like, and that's sort of like what happens in AI.
Yes.
The movie, that the robots, like they're missing feelings and missing stuff, so they run simulations of back of humanity.
Exactly.
In order to mine it for modifications on themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. Same kind of deal. In fact, you may have gotten it from AI.
Yeah.
I don't know where Bostrom got the idea.
But it's almost a museum-like thing.
Right, exactly. It would be a kind of like museum.
Right, where Sturbridge, Massachusetts, Sturbridge Village.
Exactly.
Or the Renaissance Fair.
Yeah, right on. No, you got it. Now, Tom is totally different.
Right.
Tom's got a much more brilliant idea.
Okay.
His idea is this. Whenever you come up with a theory of everything, you always start with assumptions. If this is true and this is true and this is true, then we have a theory. But every theory's got assumptions. His theory has two assumptions only. One is that consciousness exists and evolution exists. And he describes consciousness as a system that has information input, information processing, memory, and self-modification, so learning. So that's all a consciousness would be. Experience, processing, learning, and remembering. And then if you add evolution to that, which is change or die, evolve or die, then you could conceivably build any number of universes, any number of physics, any number of life forms out of that situation. And I always found that to be like a very, very drawing and powerful argument for the creation of reality.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be tech though.
Oh no, this would be non-physical. This is like not physical. This would just be a system. That's it. It doesn't need to be like a hardware. It's just if you have this system with these rules and it's forced to evolve or die, then it would just morph and morph and grow and grow. It could even create time out of that. So it's an interesting idea. It's the idea that like this is all the result of a super AI, and it's not that the super AI is some postgrad's computer. It's that this super AI just is. You know, that's one of the interesting thing about cosmology is like, you know, so like what Terence McKenna said, you give us one miracle and we can explain everything. Like, where did all this come from?
Right.
Well, the only thing that makes sense is that, like, at least to me, is that how could you possibly have a universe that begins with all the physical laws, all the matter and energy that ever will be, showing up out of nowhere from for no reason, or from another dimension or a singularity or a black hole or something? You got to start probably with a system. And cellular autonoma is a great example. You know, John Conway's famous experiment where you have just 4 or 5 rules, and out of these 4 or 5 rules, you push go and you force it to evolve, and it just creates all these weird kind of like digital organisms out of it. I think that it's completely likely, more than anything else, that this whole thing's a computer game.